Welcome to the Modern Biopharma podcast. The world of today's medicines is big, complex, and constantly changing. Our goal is to give you insight into the people that are manufacturing the medicines people need every day, whether it is the people taking care of these facilities, or those building them, or those maintaining the quality and integrity of every dose that is delivered to the patient. We interview the people that are making it happen and give you a chance to get to know them while we're at it. Thanks for saying hi. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Modern Biopharma podcast. We're excited to have you here today, and we're excited to have our guest, Rick Pierro from Superior Controls. Rick and I met a number of years ago. He's very involved in the ISPE Boston area chapter and been very involved with the product show for many years, long before I was around. But we're excited to have him on here today. How are you doing today, Rick?
Right. Thank you. Yep. I'm also president of Superior Controls. I was a co-founder of it 27 years ago or so, and I have the good fortune of living up here with my wife and three children here in Hampton Falls. And coincidentally, Jesse, you many years ago were the soccer coach for my daughter, Sophia. She had a wonderful experience playing soccer. My background, just to give you a quick overview, is I studied chemistry and biology for my bachelor's and received my master's in chemical engineering, and jumped into the automation field, many years ago, and thoroughly enjoyed it. And in '93, myself and Mark LaRoche started Superior Controls, providing automation services to the industry. At that time, to all industries, discrete manufacturing, process, and so on.
So do you do more than just the biopharma industry right now, or are you pretty well 100% dedicated to biopharm?
We do more than the biopharm. We do food and beverage, chemicals, and some discrete manufacturing. But I'd say over 90% of our business is focused on biotech, and pharmaceutical. We made that decision about 20 years ago. And it was a very good decision to just focus on biotech. We've expanded in Boston. We have an office up in Seabrook, and then we expanded out in San Francisco and out to Albany, New York. So we have offices in all of those locations.
So your organization is at a number of sites, but tell me a little bit more about your company. You guys are in automation, so you do manufacturing, services, personnel at sites. What kind of things are you guys working on?
Sure. We have about 135 engineers, mostly chemical engineers, electrical engineers, and we're focused on providing custom automation systems for manufacturing. So when a company comes out with a new product, might be a monoclonal antibody, we'll design a system with PLCs or a DCS system, and the proper programming and validation to install and manufacture that particular product. But it's all custom software. So I would characterize it more as a service industry.
Okay, great. So you've been up here in the New England region, working for 20 years, more than 20 years in the biopharma industry. Share with us some of the changes that you've seen since you've been in the business, whether it's to the industry in general or more specifically to your business of automation there at Superior Controls.
Oh, sure. There's been a lot of changes in the past 20 years. I mean, 20 years ago, we didn't have single-use components. People were not using plastics or disposable systems. That's a major change that has occurred over the past 10 to 15 years. And now almost every biotech company is using single-use components. These are plastic bags, plastic systems with just built-in disposable pH sensors, temperature sensors, pressure sensors, and so on, CO2 and O2 sensors that they use to grow the cells and or transport the cells. And when they're finished, they just take these and throw them out and burn them. They dispose of them and put in new aseptically cleaned, ready to go plastic systems for the next product, so that it reduces cross contamination. It eliminates CIP, clean in place, steam in place, and quite a few procedures that were required with the older way of manufacturing. So that's a major change. We didn't, when we first started, way back in the early days, we didn't even have PCs. Everything was done with hardwired switches and sensors and potentiometers, hardwired into control panels with all types of lights and push buttons for displays. So early on, the PC, the advent of the PC, and touchscreen operator interfaces allowed us much more information and changed everything dramatically. Um, so there's been a lot of changes, especially in the past few years. Recently, we've seen a lot of our customers putting their data, GMP data, this is critical manufacturing data, that they're obligated to save for 10 years or so. And if they lose it, they can't sell their product. It's very important data. But they're storing it in the cloud. So this is a major change I never thought I'd see, 5 years ago. They're storing it up in the cloud, making it accessible to all their researchers and production people, and it's much easier for them. So they've deemed the cloud to be more reliable and safer than servers at their facility and backup servers that they used to use for this type of data. So that's a major change that's going on as well. The control systems are getting much more sophisticated. We're collecting a lot more data than we used to. Electronic batch reports, which in the old days, they would look at the data after they manufactured the product and look for any deviations or exceptions, and they would spend days reviewing this data by hand. Now we can use automatic reports that indicate to the operators that there were no deviations, everything was fine with the manufacturing process, and the product is acceptable. So it's reduced their time and the amount of labor to qualify a product as well.
Okay, so you've seen a lot of changes over the years, especially in the automation space. You didn't have computers when you first started; you just had buttons back then. So that's a big change. And now we've gone, and we're starting to go more and more to storage on the cloud, and even that is a gigantic change, a huge mind shift for companies to actually not have their data on site, but actually somewhere else. So that's a very significant one. So something that I'm really interested in, everybody when they visit a customer, they see a lot of different things. You get to visit lots of different types of customers, and many of them you're not confined to one space, like say an engineer at an owner might be. So what's something that when you walk in, you see an area for improvement that maybe a lot of the customers might not see regularly? So say like a lot of bang for your buck, if you will, as an automation guy, that when you visit a customer, you go, oh man, this is a no-brainer. This is something that they could make a huge improvement on fairly simply. And, it's something you like to see happen for that customer.
Right. Well, there's an awful lot of automation systems out there that were put in 15 years ago, 12 years ago. And what happens inevitably is these both the hardware and the software become obsolete eventually. And a lot of times the manufacturer, the biotech facility, they don't realize that they're using hardware and or software that is obsolete. It's no longer supported. So when they purchased it, when they had it installed and got it up and running, it was the best thing on the market. And but that's changed, and the market has shifted, and it's not even supported. So in the event that they had a problem or had to replace it, and it's a validated system, typically, they'd have a lot of problems. They'd have to be down, typically bring the system down, replace it with a new, more available product, and hardware and software, and revalidate the whole system. So many times we see those issues and suggest to the biotech facility that we upgrade some of their systems before they have a problem. So that's number one, in terms of helping them continuing to run without any downtime or minimal downtime. That's common. The other thing that's shifted over the past few years, I'd say 10 years especially, is the biotech facilities, they have a smaller engineering staff than they used to. They have managers that typically go out and hire people like us to implement the automation of their product. And they often have us have request that our engineers be on site kind of as an embedded mode for long periods of time to get the system up and running. So probably half our engineers at any given time are working at these facilities on a day-to-day basis. And it's not just in automation, it's support, operations, validation, to support their manufacturing.
So full staff augmentation.
Correct. It's staff augmentation, but it's more specifically to the automation, and we're handling all types of ongoing problems and challenges and SOPs and corrective actions. But our people are on site sometimes for years on end. So it's a good experience for our engineers because they might work at 3 or 4 biotech facilities over a 4 or 5 year period, and have many experiences, at many different facilities. Or they can come back here at Superior Controls and work on in-house, fixed price, fixed scope projects as well. So we have both of those opportunities, and it's been great for our customers and very good for our employees.
Well, I know I see Superior Controls at a lot of facilities I go to. Great reputation. I see your guys pretty much everywhere I go. So great report there.
They certainly are. We have about 40 engineers out in San Francisco. We have about 30 out in Albany, New York. And we have 85 or so here in Seabrook, New Hampshire, covering the Boston, Cambridge area. And so we try to hire people not just in those locations, but they're also out at our customer locations. And we're now part of a larger company called New Technologies. So we have 350 automation engineers altogether at 14 offices across the country. So we're able to support other locations as well. And that's been a big benefit to some of our customers. That's certainly changed. We've had engineers until very recently out in India, China, Switzerland, Germany, doing startups on all types of projects in those locations. And with these crazy times currently, we're working on several projects to produce both antibodies and eventually vaccines for the coronavirus. So this is something new, of course, and but there's an awful lot of activity in this area, and many of our customers are urgently working on solutions to the coronavirus, as fast as they can.
Right. So this is something I wanted to talk to you about real quick. So we're both up in New Hampshire. We're a little ways away from the Boston area, where it's kind of a hotbed of one of these this COVID outbreak. And as of this recording, we're only about a couple weeks in, but we're kind of in a lockdown situation. What's going on in your world right now? How has your business been affected, or how have you guys, jumped to the rescue with all that's going on and in the midst of this sort of semi can't move situation?
Oh, it's amazing. The just yesterday, for example, New Hampshire had a lockdown on employees in New Hampshire. Our group is exempted from that because we're working on critical projects and processes that in many cases are producing antibodies for the coronavirus. So we're exempt from that. However, many of our manufacturing plants have asked us to work remotely, from the employees' houses. They're able to tie in, often through VPN networks, into the control system and develop new software from their house. So most of our people are working remotely. We do have people that are providing 24/7 ongoing support. We have, one customer, for example, where we have 2 engineers on every shift, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they're on site, keeping the operations running, and that's continuing certainly. But if we don't absolutely need to go on site, we're encouraging our employees, of course, not to. There are some cases where we need to be on site to set up these systems, but several of our customers, 7 or 8 of our customers, for example, are currently working on solutions to the coronavirus. So that's exciting. And
wow.
Yeah, as I speak, there are people downstairs. I'm at Superior Controls right now that are working on developing a new control system for antibodies that are made specifically for the coronavirus. So, yeah, so these are exciting times.
So the next question I was going to ask is what's something that you're excited about? And before you answer, I mean, something that's happening right now that I think is really exciting is just how fast all the companies in our industry are moving in response to this COVID pandemic. And the pharma industry in general is kind of known as being kind of slow, sluggish, just can't get out of its way in some respects. And there's a lot of reasons for why that is. But this has been something that's been kind of exciting to watch happen. And, even aside from this, just the way they've changed how we make facilities, again, it's really speeding things up in a way that's going to ultimately revolutionize the industry and get medicines to people faster than they've ever gotten them before.
Right. No, it's amazing to see this focus. I think we're going to see more biotech manufacturing in this country going forward. It's making people realize that a lot of the active APIs, active pharmaceutical ingredients, and so on are made in other countries, and perhaps that's a risk and a concern. So I think we're going to see more focus in biotech, more growth in biotech in the United States, and that's great for us.
So I have another question I'm excited to ask everybody. So if you were to go back 10 years and be able to talk to yourself 10 years ago, what's something that you would tell yourself to sort of give yourself an edge or to give yourself sort of a view of the future that you think would be really valuable?
So 10 years ago, so what's happened in the past few years, it's become so inexpensive to collect data, all types of pertinent manufacturing data and additional data that not as important, but because it's so inexpensive to do this now, there's enormous amounts of information and data being collected, and there's a whole new area of focus on data analysis, big data analysis. And when I say big, I mean enormous. This is not just in biotech, but it's in retail. In biotech, it involves DNA and the gene therapy and cell therapy and things of that sort. And I think if it's an area that I've started reading a lot more about, but I wish 10 years ago knew this was coming in such a big way, because it's a fascinating area. And I would encourage young people that are interested in engineering and in biotech to look into this area, big data analysis, and looking for trends that aren't intuitively obvious. And with some of the algorithms and artificial intelligence, there's all types of correlations and trends that jump out at us that we wouldn't know otherwise. So this is a fascinating area that's going to change our lives. And it's being applied to all aspects. It's not just biotech. It's automated car driving. Enabling cars to drive driverless. It's massive retail, being able to get information to particular customers based on what they purchased in the past. So it's exciting with biotech. They've just a few years ago they finally deciphered the genome, 3.04 billion nucleic acids, which is an amazing feat. And now that's being done commonly with individual patients, and we're able to look at the genes of individual patients and know based on that information whether a drug will work or not. So that's a fascinating thing that's happening. And we're seeing a lot more personalized medicines, cell and gene therapy. That's just come out in the past 5 years, and they're predicting it could be close to 100 plants per year for the next several years Even in the Massachusetts area there. So that we're working with quite a few of them, and that's an exciting opportunity as well.
That's one I think we're going to hear a lot about here on the podcast is cell and gene therapy. It is the future of a lot of the medicines that people need today. And to your point about big data is everywhere, whether we like it or not. It's already there. There was something I was actually listening to the other day, and I read up a little bit more about it. Was this company that sells these thermometers that are connected to the Internet of Things, and they're actually monitoring the temperatures of people all over the country right now, and they can start to see the effect of people sheltering in place or quarantining, and how it affects the temperatures, the average temperatures as they spike or go down all over the country. They can actually monitor the fever of COVID patients as it's spreading. And that's something they're doing right now, watching it and being able to offer that as data for those that are more on the national response team.
No, absolutely. Especially at a time like this, we could see parts of the country opening up, and perhaps restaurants and hotels, when you check in, they just point a little device at you and check your temperature immediately. And if you're below a certain threshold, then you're allowed in. And who knows how this is going to change our life with this virus. That's absolutely.
No doubt we're going to be seeing a lot of changes in the industry, whether it's because of what's going on with the COVID pandemic right now, or again, outside of this, all that's going on with cell and gene therapy and the kinds of medicines that people are going to start to have access to, where it's one shot rather than shots every week for the rest of your life, or some amount of times. That's for a long time. It's this enduring almost cure for an issue.
The difference is the cell and gene therapy, a lot of these solutions are not continuous injections or pills that someone takes every week. They're one-time solutions that cure the disease for good. What they do is they take your cells out of your body. They can modify the DNA inside the cells using a vector, a virus, a deactivated virus, just to modify the DNA. And those cells are put back into the body, and those cells then continue making the protein that was missing before, and making it correctly, and they continue multiplying and growing with the person. So for the rest of his life, that person's life, they're making the proteins that might have been missing previously. Or they can modify the DNA so that it stops or reduces the amount of protein being made, which is too much of a particular protein can cause other diseases. So things like sickle cell anemia, certain types of blindness, can actually be cured with these DNA modifications. So now the question is, how do you pay for this? It's enormously expensive. So what some of the companies have done is they've agreed that if it works, they would charge maybe $1 million for that solution, and if it doesn't work, there's no charge. So it's a whole new paradigm of charging for these drugs as well.
Yeah, so it's kind of like one big hit of cost instead of a whole bunch of cost, over the course of say 10 years or 15 years or 20 years of life or whatever. So dealing with that is an interesting one for the insurance world and whatnot. So all right, that's about all we have for today. But I want to give you one last chance to, if you can, share with the audience, just a parting thought. What's something that you'd like to share with everybody on here? Again, we're talking to engineers, project managers, quality folks, the guys that we interact with daily in the biopharm space. So what's something that you would like to share with our audience as a final parting thought?
Right. I would put in a plug for ISPE, the Boston chapter. That's probably the best location to meet other people in the biotech industry, go to the educational programs, learn about what's happening in the industry. They're enormously active, or actually were until 2 weeks ago. So hopefully this is the temporary time that we're down, but typically they have 2 or 3 excellent digital show programs per month. And of course, they're very large product show at Gillette Stadium. I think we had 3,000 people attend that last October. And but if someone's in the Boston area, that's the place to attend. And likewise, San Francisco, they have the San Francisco ISPE chapter, a very similar, excellent, active chapter as well. But these are groups of like-minded people that are studying the new FDA regulations, talking about how to solve problems, how to speed things up, how to do things more efficiently. And it's an excellent organization, nonprofit educational program organization.
Well, we always appreciate a good plug for the Boston area chapter, and not that anybody's counting, but this year it was, I think, a little bit more than 3,900, not 3,000. So obviously I have a little bit invested in that, and you have a lot of history with the show as well, so you do too. But yeah, it was a pretty awesome show this year.
It's the largest one-day biotech show in North America, and so that's exciting. Right here in Boston every year.
Yes, our day at Gillette every year is an exciting one. We always look forward to it, and we're looking forward to it again this year as planning is underway as usual. Well, anyways, Rick, thank you so much for today. We appreciate your time here and all that you give to our community, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again at other events and other things around town as we are cooped up here at home. So thanks again so much.
Thank you very much, Jesse.
Thanks again for listening to the Modern Biopharma podcast. Please reach out if there is someone you'd like us to interview or a topic you'd like us to discuss. We will make it happen. And don't forget to like us on iTunes or subscribe on YouTube. It helps us get the word out. See you next time.